On our wedding night, my wife didn't spend it with me. Instead, she went to look after her side piece outside. I didn't make a fuss. In fact, I covered for her in front of my parents. Why? Because I've got this luck-absorbing system going on. Ever since we got married, every time she cheats, her lover's luck gets transferred to me. Today marks her 72nd fling. Also today, the system alerted me that my luck has maxed out. Can't go any higher. Looks like it's time to ditch this so-called wife. Just then, the door opened. In walked Maria, my wife. She's got looks to kill, perfect body, long legs, stunning features. She's been using that to keep those men wrapped around her finger. Back already? I asked, my tone cool. No need to sweet-talk her anymore since I've got what I wanted. She nodded, kicking off her heels. What did you make for dinner? Nothing. My voice was flat. Maybe I had feelings for her once, but after the cheating started, they vanished. She paused for a moment, then fiddled with her shoes. Eating out? Nope, just don't feel like serving you anymore. I said with a smile, as if complimenting her. What do you mean? She stopped fiddling, staring in disbelief. Can't you understand? Your brain's just an accessory, isn't it? I chuckled, finding humor in her confusion. Frank, are you insane? Her voice went up a few octaves. Crazy one here is you. I stretched, lounging lazily on the sofa. A hint of panic crossed her eyes. What are you saying? Make it clear. Okay, I'll make it clear. You think I don't know about your secret hookups? Think you hid it well? Nope. I knew from day one. Maria, you're nothing but a cheating mess. Didn't call you out earlier because you were useful. Now you're not. Get lost. Lies don't cut deep, but the truth can slice right through you. That's what it did to Maria. She flipped, went nuts. Frank, you're talking crap. Go to hell. She grabbed a heel from the floor and hurled it at me. I didn't flinch, just crossed my legs, watching it fly. The heel should have nailed me in the face or worse, my eye. But I wasn't worried. My luck's off the charts. Sure enough, at that moment, a sudden strong wind blew open the closed window, knocking the shoe off course. It whizzed past my head harmlessly, and as it hit the ground, 2 $100 bills magically landed inside. The bizarre scene even startled Maria, leaving her dazed on the floor. Perfect time to tell her off. I calmly said, Maria, see that? That's karma. She snapped out of it, lips pale, speechless. Get out. Remember, go to City Hall tomorrow afternoon for the divorce. If you show, I'll split my assets. But if not, you'll leave with nothing. After all, my luck today was partially due to her. So, despite everything, I'd toss her some cash. Money's kinda whatever to me now, anyway. If I ever needed more, I'd just hit up the lottery. She stood there frozen, so I cursed, move it. That's when she finally bolted, like a whipped pup. Next day, I slept in before heading out. Asked her to come in the afternoon, 'cause I wanted to sleep late. No cab riding for me. I just stood by the road, laid back. About 10 seconds passed before a Porsche rolled up and a beautiful woman rolled down the window. Gotta admit, never seen beauty like hers. If Maria is an 8 out of 10, this woman's a solid 9. But I wasn't tempted. With my insane luck, most worldly things don't interest me anymore. Her voice was like honey, stunning and sultry. Hey, need a lift to City Hall? I'm heading that way. Sure. I hopped in the passenger seat, chill as can be. Perks of being lucky as hell. We reached City Hall fast. As I got out, I found a wallet with around $2,000. Not much, so I wasn't interested. Just as I was about to leave it, the owner came rushing over, another beauty. I returned it, and she gave me the $2,000 as a reward. Couldn't decline, so I took it. With those distractions done, I found Maria fuming at my late arrival, complaining nonstop. Can't you even be early for divorce? I've been waiting half the day, she grumbled. She pointed at the long line ahead of us. When I came, there were only a few people. Now look, it's packed. How long will this take? I ignored her complaining and waited for about 10 seconds. Something weird happened. The phones of the people in line ahead of me started ringing almost at the same time. It was like they were all on cue, They answered their phones and left in a hurry. For a moment, I felt like they were NPCs or something. But as someone who always seems lucky, I was used to this kind of scene. Only Maria stood frozen, her hands still reaching out, her mouth wide open, not understanding what just happened. She stammered. I just yawned lazily and slowly walked past her. By the time Maria snapped back to reality, I was already inside the Civil Affairs Bureau. The divorce process went smoothly. The staff didn't really bother us with questions and got everything done quickly. All right, goodbye, I said as a polite farewell. She responded with a flat tone. Then, I saw someone driving a BMW to pick up my ex-wife. It was this greasy old guy with a receding hairline, and the first thing he did was wrap his arm around her waist and kiss her on the lips. So this guy's your ex-husband, huh? He looks like a loser. The greasy guy shot me a disdainful look, full of challenge. I found them disgusting, so I turned my head away, not wanting to engage. Gotta say, my ex had quite a taste if she was cool with that kind of guy. Even though I didn't want to deal with them, they had other plans and walked over to me together. Frank, you know why I cheated on you? Maria started. Because you're a loser. No car, no house, and you refuse to work. If it wasn't for how good you used to be to me, I would have divorced you ages ago. I couldn't even be bothered to raise an eyebrow, listening to her pathetic excuses with mild amusement. Divorcing me is going to be the most regrettable decision of your life. I'd love to see if you can find someone to spend the rest of your life with. She vented her dissatisfaction. See this guy next to me? She continued, he's a manager at a Fortune 500 company. His day's salary could cover your year's expenses. I can't believe you'd even try to compare with him. If you had even a fraction of his ability, I wouldn't have done what I did. Talking to them felt beneath me. But after checking the time, I decided to give them a heads up. Could you move aside? Someone will be here for me soon. Someone coming for you? Maria and Greasy Guy looked around and only saw a guy on a shared bike approaching. Is that your ride? Maria pointed at the man, laughing hard, her disdain almost tangible. I stretched lazily, and then I saw the Porsche that had dropped me off earlier. Checking the time, I was pretty sure it was my ride back. So, I gave Maria a glance and said, Nope, it's the Porsche. Maria followed my finger and saw the Porsche but didn't stop laughing, her laughter even louder now. Even the greasy guy beside her chuckled at my humor. Frank, if no one's picking you up, that's fine. No need to put on airs, he said dismissively. Shrugging, I took a few steps toward the road and waved my hand. Kid, are you crazy? Think you're hailing a cab? That they'll just stop for you? The greasy guy laughed so hard he cried a little. Frank, Maria chimed in, do you know what you look like right now? A clown. She held her stomach, clearly finding all of this hilarious. But I didn't have time for these fools. Actions speak louder than words, and I wanted to see if they'd still laugh when I got in the car. The Porsche wasn't slow and soon stopped in front of me, but then it drove straight past. I paused, awkwardly scratching my head. Maybe I guessed wrong? The laughter behind me grew louder, making me feel trapped. Shouldn't have tried to show off. Kid, if you've got no ride, hop in with us. I'll drop you off, the greasy guy teased. Yeah, Frank, Maria added, if you can't catch a ride, let my boyfriend take you home. You wouldn't want to be stuck. Just when I was wondering why my luck was off, the Porsche slowly reversed. Hey, handsome. Sorry. A voice came from the rolled-down window. I was just thinking about something and accidentally overshot. It's fine. Could you give me a ride home? I waved it off, feeling a little guilty about mooching rides. Absolutely, hop in, the woman replied. At this, Maria broke the silence and said, Sister, I can tell you don't know this guy, but I used to be married to him. I know what kind of person he is. If you trust me, don't take him on. He's capable of anything. I rolled my eyes. Maria would say anything to smear me. The greasy guy obviously didn't skip the chance to jump in. Lady, trust me, she's right. This guy's the worst. Though they hadn't seen the driver, I stood in front of the window. The woman glanced at me, and I just spread my hands, helpless. I didn't bother explaining, curious if she'd buy their words. She got out, unfastening her seatbelt, while asking, Is what they say true? Absolutely. They echoed in unison, their timing so perfect it surprised even me. When she walked in front of me, I noticed her legs were remarkably long, comically speaking, longer than my buddy's life. Around this time, that greasy guy somehow made his way next to me, gave a deep bow to the woman, and stuttered a bit as he spoke. "Boss. John, what are you doing here?" The woman was a bit surprised. Then she seemed to realize something and continued, "Let me ask you again. Is what you were just talking about true or not?" "Of course it's true," Maria replied without hesitation. But the woman ignored her, looking at John instead. She wanted a straight answer from him. I saw John was pretty nervous, and he didn't even dare to lift his head. He didn't get the chance to finish speaking before the woman interrupted him. "You know what happens if you lie to me. You should also know when I want to get to the bottom of something, I always do." Her voice was sharp and she had a bit of a queen-like aura. John started sweating a lot, his legs trembling. "It's fake. Everything we just said was fake." He quickly spat out the words, then sat heavily on the ground like a weight had lifted off him. "Good." The woman nodded, seemingly unsurprised. "You don't need to show up for work tomorrow." Then she turned to me. "Hey there, handsome. Let's go." "Thanks," I said before getting in the car. On the way back, we chatted a bit. She mentioned she'd been wanting to fire John for a while but hadn't found a good excuse. She thanked me for helping her with that. Her thanks made me feel a bit awkward, and I didn't know how to respond, so I stayed quiet. When we got out of the car, she wanted to exchange contacts, but I turned her down. A real man doesn't get caught up in romance. With luck as good as mine, there's no kind of life I can't handle. Thinking like this, I started heading home. Halfway there, a gust of wind slapped 2 red bills onto my face. I silently looked at the bills, feeling a bit sentimental. Being invincible is such a lonely thing. After I got home, I barely went outside. When I was hungry, I ordered delivery. When lying around got boring, I played video games. A few months passed like that until I heard a knock on my door. I hadn't ordered takeout, so I was confused and went to open the door. The second it opened, a shiny dagger lunged for my chest. Even though I knew my luck would keep me from dying from a knife, instincts kicked in and I stepped back a few feet. That's when I saw a balding man fall to the ground. I recognized the disheveled figure after a moment of thinking. "John?" I called out tentatively. The balding guy looked at me with eyes full of hatred. "It's all your fault I lost my job. Now you'll pay," he yelled, trying to get up. But as soon as he stood, he slipped again and fell. I watched the whole thing, speechless. How do you just fall like that without moving? Maybe I should help him up? I nodded to myself, confirming the thought. Then I walked over to help John up. "Why are you lying on the ground like that? You'll catch a cold." John seemed momentarily stunned, looking at me with a puzzled expression. But then he used the chance to try and stab me. I saw it coming and didn't bother stopping him. He couldn't kill me, I knew that well. As the knife got closer, I felt a bit nervous, worried I'd slipped up and could die here. But luck was on my side because the knife broke. It snapped clean at the handle. John ended up bashing my chest with the handle after that. But that day I was wearing a shirt with a metal button decoration on the chest. So John cried out, clutching his hand, and fell back down. Meanwhile, the broken knife blade stood erect on the ground, somehow piercing through John's arm. I, on the other hand, just had a little chest pain. I looked at the blade pierced through John's arm, feeling slightly exasperated. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. John had passed out by then. Looking at him all pathetic, I felt a wave of compassion and grabbed his phone, guessing his password on the first try. Then I called an ambulance for him. Not because I was particularly good-hearted, but because I thought keeping him around would make my life more interesting. After John was taken by the ambulance, boredom set in again. Just as I was going out of my mind, a notification came through on my phone. It was from Maria. Yeah, I hadn't blocked her because she didn't really bother my life. "Frank, can we meet again? I'm waiting at the restaurant." These messages took me back to a time before everything got crazy, when we were just starting out. She used to be so innocent back then. Our favorite thing was going to that restaurant to order a bowl of tomato egg soup, some sautéed potatoes, a plate of peppers and meat, and a dish of braised eggplant. Back then, that was a pretty fancy meal for us. Sadly, I replied with a simple okay, agreeing to meet her. Not because I still had feelings for her, but because I was bored. I didn't believe she just wanted a meal. I figured she had something else planned. It seemed like it would be a good way to kill time. I got to the restaurant and spotted her right away. Must be my luck. She sat across from me, decked out in makeup and looking rather provocative. "What do you want?" I asked, looking around the restaurant instead of at her. "Frank, I regret it." Her voice was soft, the kind that makes guys want to protect her. But I wasn't interested in protecting her. I just gave her an impatient glance. "Don't waste time with meaningless words. I'm telling you the truth." She got all worked up and rolled up her sleeves to show me the bruises on her arms. "Frank, John hit me. He hits me every time he's upset. Call the cops." "What's telling me gonna do?" I shot her a puzzled look, wondering if her brain got rattled from being hit. "I can't." She pulled her sleeves back down to cover the bruises and said, her voice breaking, "Well, if you won't, then just live with it. What else can you do?" If she came to me just to talk about this, I might as well have stayed home and relaxed. "Frank, won't you help me?" Maria's eyes were red-rimmed as she looked at me. Honestly, another guy might see her like that and feel sorry for her, might even want to help. Too bad she ran into me. I shook my head and said bluntly, "Nope." She stared at me in disbelief, tears rolling down her face. "Frank, please help me." I kept shaking my head, face blank. "No." After I said that, I saw a flash of something fierce in her eyes, but she quickly went back to looking pitiful. "I know I've wronged you before, and everything happening now is my own fault. Good that you know." I nodded. Maria was a bit stunned, probably didn't expect I'd be so unkind. She quickly followed up, "Frank, can you take me home?" "Sure." I got up, guessing she probably had further plans, like killing me. If that's the case, it'll be interesting, since I've been really bored lately. By the time we left the restaurant, it was already dark. We were heading to her place, with me in silence while she kept rambling about our past. I stayed calm until we passed an alley and she stopped and pointed to it. "Frank, let's go this way." Maybe to curb my suspicion before I could say anything, she added, "It might be dark, but it's a shortcut." Okay. I wasn't afraid of her making a move. I'd be more worried if she just wanted a ride home. The alley was narrow, though we could walk side by side. It felt cramped. So I walked in front and she followed. About halfway through, I heard Maria fiddling with something. My heartbeat quickened. I knew the exciting part was about to unfold. I turned around and, under the faint moonlight, saw her pulling out pepper spray. Just to play along. I acted clueless and asked, "What's with the pepper spray?" She chuckled coldly. "Frank, since you won't do what I ask, go to hell." Then she pressed the spray, and a puff of mist headed for my eyes. But just then, a gust of wind blew it back, and I heard her scream. But it wasn't over. As the wind blew, I sensed someone behind me. I turned back and saw John, holding a shiny knife. "Die!" John shouted, stabbing towards me. I sighed, shrugged. Even if I couldn't predict what had happened next, I knew that knife would never pierce my heart. Then, out of nowhere, a flower pot fell, missing me, but hitting John's knife hand. John yelped in pain and dropped the knife. I watched them, looking ridiculous, strolling past, and patted John's shoulder as I passed. For some reason, John didn't chase me. Maybe the failed attempts left him with psychological scars, or maybe the pot broke his hand. Either way, my brief excitement was over. A few steps away, a bold idea struck me, so I said to them, "I know you want to kill me, but you can't. But I'll give you a chance. You know the tallest building around here? Sunshine Tower, 50 stories. In 2 days, I'll put on a flying performance for you from the rooftop. In other words, I'm gonna jump off the 50th floor, no gear, in a historic human achievement." After that, I walked away humming a tune. 2 days later, I stood atop Sunshine Tower, with Maria and John behind me. Watch closely, I got nothing on me. I spun around to show I wasn't hiding anything. I pointed to my phone on a stand a bit away. "That's my streaming setup, but it's not on yet. When I'm ready to jump, I'll start streaming, letting everyone witness my leap. If I'm gonna play, I'm playing big. They looked angry. They thought there's no way I'd jump, assuming I was mocking them. I had no explanation. Like I said, actions speak louder than words. I went to the phone to start streaming when Maria spoke. "Frank, what are you going to do?" "I told you I'm jumping," I replied carelessly. John couldn't hold back either. "You think we're idiots? If you really dare jump from here today, we'll follow your lead from now on." John paused for a moment, chuckled coldly, and said, "Of course, that's if you can make it back alive after your jump." I waved him off, couldn't care less about his sarcasm. "No need to follow my lead," I said. "I just hope when I jump you'll use my phone to stream it live." My words made John pause, and then his face turned to anger. Even now, he still thinks I'm playing him. "Psycho!" He spat out with a dark face, turned around, and was ready to leave. But I couldn't let him go just like that. Someone had to witness my awesomeness, right? "Hold on, John. It'll be quick, just wait." That seemed to have an effect. He stopped, standing there coldly staring at me, maybe trying to figure out what trick I was going to pull. Since he wasn't leaving, I didn't bother with him. I used the time to start a live stream. "Hey folks, I'm on the rooftop of the Sunshine Building," I said, showing my phone so they could see the view below. "Streamer, don't stick the phone out. I'm afraid of heights. You doing some extreme challenge too?" "Huh?" I chuckled at the comments. "I'm about to start a challenge," I announced. A dramatic pause for mystery. Man, I hate those who keep people in suspense. "Goodbye. Stop stalling. What's the challenge?" "If I'm not wrong, you're gonna run around the edge of the rooftop without falling, right?" "No way, I disagree with that guess." The comments were all over the place. But I did a good job creating suspense. In just a few seconds, viewers hit 20,000. Even though I wanted more viewers, I didn't want them leaving, so I dropped the act and finished my thought. Jumping off the 50th floor and surviving it. The comments went silent for a beat before exploding into a flood of question marks. Guys, this streamer is officially a lunatic. Here's a quick recap. The streamer is nuts. What's bothering you? You can talk to me, maybe I can help. Some comments were confused, some concerned, some insulting, some speechless. No matter what, I hit my goal. The live viewer count hit over 100,000. I handed my phone to Maria. She took it with a steely expression, not saying a word. I didn't care about her attitude, as long as she recorded it right. I walked to the roof's edge and glanced down. Just one look made my heart race. It was really high. Honestly, even knowing I wouldn't die, I felt a bit chicken. But I talked a big game, so I had to go through with it. I turned away from the precipice. Fear almost took over my mind, making me want to back away. Then I saw Maria, filming me, smirking. I gritted my teeth, forced down my fear, and smiled at the camera, flashing a peace sign. I took a deep breath, calming myself a bit, and said one last thing. "Watch closely, folks. I'm only doing this once." With that, I leaned back and fell. As I dropped from the rooftop, I saw the anger and indifference vanish from John and Maria's faces. They were stunned, shocked beyond words. The wind roared in my ears, enveloping me like water. For a moment, I thought I was diving into a pool. Before jumping, fear tried to overtake my mind, to regain control. But once I was falling, fear vanished. Or maybe all emotions did, leaving just calmness. I calmly awaited my fate like I was in bed about to sleep, not in danger. Countless images flashed through my mind, like a slideshow from my life, like my body and brain accepted death, reviewing my past life. Was this it? Luck can only get you so far. Surviving a fall this high is no guarantee. At that moment, death wasn't just a word. It became a creature, devouring my body. I closed my eyes, felt my back hit something. Was that the ground? Was it over? I opened my eyes, trying to catch a last view of the world. That's when I realized I was still floating. I had hit swallows. Yes, a swarm of them. They were frantically colliding with my back. I didn't know how many. All I saw was a chaotic black and white. 700, maybe? Only because that number popped into my head. I knew the swallows couldn't keep me afloat, but they slowed my fall significantly. But it wasn't enough. At this rate, I'd still die. Just as that thought crossed my mind, an unbelievable gust of wind rose up. It blew from below, impossibly strong, counteracting most of my fall's force. My descent slowed, like moving in slow motion. If this could last, I knew I'd survive. I glanced down. I was 6 stories up, and the wind was weakening. The swallows had been blown away. At 5 stories high, the wind would be gone, and I'd start falling normally again. My judgment wasn't wrong, but what I didn't expect was that just as the last second of this wild wind was dying down, it lifted my body upright. So now I'm in a standing falling position. When I hit the ground, I might even land on my feet first. It wasn't until I was 3 floors from the ground that I realized. Because I jumped from such a high spot, my landing zone had massively shifted. Now there's a birch tree beside me. The reason I never exposed you is that you were still somewhat useful. But now you're not needed anymore, so. But it's not over yet. At 2 floors up, another branch snagged my clothes, causing me to pause briefly again. The key thing is, I'm still in a standing falling position, and from 2 floors down, there's no way I could be killed by the fall. Before my thoughts could wander, my feet had already hit the ground. A sharp pain shot through my soles, and my mind went blank for a moment. I survived. I actually survived. Even though I had anticipated it, experiencing it firsthand added a whole new depth of feeling. This was the first time I experienced the limit of luck so vividly. In a way, in this world, my only option is to die of old age. When I found Maria and the others, they couldn't say a word. I took my phone from Maria's hand. She still didn't react at all, clearly shocked by everything that just happened. But I didn't have time to worry about her, so I quickly checked the live stream. As expected, the chat room was going crazy. I watched the scrolling comments with interest and walked away from the 2 stunned people. They can stay up there as long as they want. After this incident, they probably won't bother me again. But that's not enough. I called the cops, claiming attempted murder. I kept them around before because I wanted a thrill. But after this jump, I realized if I want thrills, there are plenty of ways without involving the 2 of them. The police quickly found evidence, and unsurprisingly, they were sentenced. And I started a new life. Every egg I buy has double yolks. Every time I go out, I have good luck. When I buy stocks, they hit the limit up. I randomly invest in a short drama, and its daily earnings hit 100 million. This invincible feeling is honestly a bit boring. So, I fell in love with buying lottery tickets. Not a lot, just 1 at a time. But it's the only little game where my luck fails and I can enjoy the fun of losing. It's pretty nice.